Welcome everyone and thank you for joining us today as we dive deep into one of the most fascinating stories in modern coin collecting, a story that proves how something as ordinary as a piece of change in your pocket could turn out to be worth a life-changing fortune, because today we are talking about the 1998 quarter dollar coin, a coin that at first glance looks just like every other quarter minted by the United States Mint in the late 1990s, but in reality, it has become the focus of intense attention from collectors, dealers, and investors because of its errors and mistakes that elevate its value into the millions, with some rare examples being estimated at around $51 million, and in this script we are going to take you on a long, detailed journey into exactly why a coin that was supposed to be worth just 25 cents has been elevated to this legendary status, examining every possible error, every striking anomaly, every planchet mistake, die issue, and circulation oddity that could make a 1998 quarter into one of the most desirable coins in the entire hobby, and in doing so, we will show how the worlds of history, economics, craftsmanship, and chance all collide to turn a common coin into a priceless artifact. So let's begin by looking at the context of the 1998 quarter, a coin minted in Philadelphia during the final years before the launch of the famous 50-state quarters program that began in 1999, which means the 1998 quarter was one of the last of the classic Washington quarter designs, featuring the familiar bust of George Washington on the obverse and the heraldic eagle on the reverse, a design that had been in use since 1932, and because 1998 was right before such a massive nationwide shift in quarter production, there is a sense of historical significance surrounding these coins. But what really makes this story special are the mint errors, those small but dramatic accidents during the minting process that make certain examples stand out from the millions of ordinary strikes. And for the 1998 quarter, those errors can include double dies where the design elements appear doubled because of a misalignment in the hubbing process, off-center strikes where the design is not fully centered on the planchet, broad strikes where the coin expands beyond its intended diameter because the collar die failed, clipped planchets where a portion of the coin is missing because the blank was cut improperly, and even rare transitional errors where the coin may have been struck on the wrong type of planchet entirely, such as being struck on a clad dime planchet, a foreign coin blank, or even a leftover experimental metal planchet from earlier test runs, and these errors are highly coveted because they transform a regular coin into something unique, something no mint official ever intended to leave the press, yet somehow slipped through quality control and ended up in the hands of the public, and it is this combination of rarity and mistake that drives values into astronomical levels, because collectors are always chasing the thrill of finding that one in a million piece, and the 1998 quarter has proven to have multiple varieties that fit this description, one of the most famous being double die obverse examples where Washington's profile, the motto "I in God we trust," or the word liberty may show signs of doubling, creating a bold, eye-catching effect that even casual observers can notice, and because doubling is directly tied to how the dies were made, these errors are considered true mint varieties rather than just post-mint damage, which means they are recognized and cataloged by error specialists, dramatically boosting their desirability. Then there are misstruck coins where the designs are misaligned with the planchet, leading to partial eagles, missing letters, or blank areas on the coin's surface, and while such errors might seem small, they are incredibly valuable because they illustrate how even the sophisticated machinery of the United States Mint is not immune to mistakes, and when you consider how few of these coins survive in high grades, it becomes easier to see why collectors will pay enormous sums, and in the case of the legendary 1998 quarter valued at $51 million, we are talking about a specimen that combines multiple dramatic errors in one, making it a coin so unique that no other example can rival it, likely featuring a striking blend of a double die obverse, an off-center strike, and a rare planchet composition that together make it essentially a one-of-a-kind piece. And when coins reach that level of singular rarity, their price is no longer just about their intrinsic metal or even their face value, but about the story they tell and the passion of collectors willing to compete for ownership, which is why auction houses have recorded staggering bids for these error quarters, because wealthy collectors and institutions know they are acquiring something that will never appear again. And beyond the headline-making coin worth $51 million, even ordinary 1998 error quarters can be worth hundreds, thousands, or tens of thousands of dollars depending on the type and severity of the error, with dramatic broad strikes and wrong planchet errors often leading the way in value. But it's not only errors that matter, condition also plays a huge role, because in coin collecting the grade assigned by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC can make the difference between a coin worth a few dollars and one worth a fortune, and since 1998 quarters were minted in the hundreds of millions, most circulated heavily and acquired scratches, nicks, and wear, so uncirculated examples preserved in mint state with full luster are already scarce, and when you add an error on top of that, the result is an incredibly rare coin that stands out in the marketplace, and collectors always value rarity plus condition as the ultimate combination, which explains why even ordinary double dies in high grade can command staggering prices, and why a coin with the kinds of extraordinary errors found on the $51 million piece becomes a numismatic legend. But there are also fascinating possibilities that go beyond the traditional list of errors, because coin enthusiasts often speculate about patterns and experimental pieces that may have slipped out of the mint accidentally, such as test strikes of the upcoming State Quarter series that began in 1999, or quarters struck on experimental metal compositions like pure nickel or aluminum, and if a 1998 P quarter with such characteristics exists, it would be almost priceless, because it would bridge the historic transition between the old Washington Quarter series and the new State Quarter program, making it both an error and a prototype in one. And we know from history that experimental strikes do sometimes escape into circulation, so it is not impossible that such a coin exists, which adds another layer of excitement for collectors, who may dream of finding one in their change. And this is part of the magic of coin collecting, the idea that even now, more than 2 decades after it was minted, a 1998 P quarter in your pocket could be worth life-changing money if it has the right mistake, and that possibility keeps people searching, keeps coin roll hunters examining every quarter they find, and keeps the demand for these rare errors at a fever pitch. And when we reflect on the sheer improbability of these coins surviving undetected for years, we realize that their value is not just about metal or mistakes but about survival against the odds, about chance, and about the thrill of discovery, which are timeless human themes, and it explains why collectors, historians, and investors are willing to put millions on the line for such pieces, because they represent not only a tangible asset but also a story, a slice of history captured in metal, and the 1998 P quarter valued at $51 million is perhaps the ultimate expression of that idea, a coin that embodies everything exciting about the hobby, from the thrill of the hunt to the wonder of human error. And as we conclude this deep dive into its world, let us remember that the next great discovery may still be out there waiting to be found. So if you are holding a 1998 P quarter or you come across one in circulation, take a close look, because you never know if that ordinary coin could actually be one of the extraordinary error pieces worth a staggering sum. And thank you for watching this journey through numismatic history. We hope you enjoyed exploring the story of the 1998 P quarter with us, and if you did, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss another incredible story about coins that could change your life. Next. Now we're about to dive deep into one of the most fascinating stories in the world of coin collecting, and this time our focus is on a coin that might surprise you with just how much it can be worth, the 1981 D quarter dollar, a coin that most people would see as just ordinary change in their pocket, but because of a series of rare minting errors, unusual mistakes, and the possibilities connected to its unique production. Some examples of this coin have been valued as high as $17 million. And the journey to understanding why such a small piece of metal can reach such extraordinary heights in value is a story that pulls together history, craftsmanship, chance, error, rarity, and the unrelenting passion of collectors who know that sometimes the most valuable treasures are hiding in plain sight. So let's begin by placing ourselves back in the early 1980s, a time when the Denver Mint was producing millions of quarters every year to meet the demands of commerce in the United States. But even in a facility known for precision, errors could and did happen, and those errors created coins unlike any others, coins that slipped through the cracks of quality control and became accidental masterpieces that collectors would later fight over, driving their prices higher and higher until today we find ourselves discussing how a 1981 D quarter dollar could ever be linked to a price tag of $17 million. So what exactly makes these coins so valuable? Let's break it down piece by piece, starting with the types of errors that can occur in coins of this era. Because the 1981 D quarter dollar is a Washington quarter struck at the Denver Mint, bearing the D Mint mark, and errors can include double die obverse, double die reverse, off-center strikes, broad strikes, clip planchets, die cracks, and even wrong planchet errors. Each one of these mistakes creating a coin that is literally one of a kind, a piece that no one else has, and when rarity meets demand in The world of numismatics, the sky is the limit on value. For instance, some 1981 D quarters have been found with dramatic doubling on the inscriptions such as, "In God We Trust," or "Liberty" on the obverse, and that doubling makes the letters look almost like they have shadows or ghostly outlines, and while to the untrained eye this may seem like a smudge or wear, experts know that doubling caused by hubbing errors can skyrocket the desirability of the coin. Then there are quarters struck slightly off-center, where the design is not perfectly aligned but instead shifted in one direction, leaving part of the planchet blank, and collectors prize these mistakes because they are visually striking and prove without a doubt that the coin slipped past the mint's rigorous standards. Another possibility that raises the value of 1981 D quarters are wrong planchet errors, which occur when a quarter is struck on a blank intended for another denomination like a nickel or even a foreign coin. These errors are rare and shocking when discovered, and one example of a 1981 D quarter struck on the wrong planchet could explain why someone would pay millions to own it. Then we have clipped planchet errors where a portion of the coin is missing due to a mistake in the blanking process, giving the coin a crescent-like cut, and again, collectors chase after these anomalies because no two are ever the same. Die cracks and cuds are also fascinating because they represent breaks or damage in the die used to strike the coin, leaving behind raised lines, lumps, or missing portions of design on the coin's surface, and for some collectors, the bigger and bolder the die break, the more valuable the coin becomes, and when you combine all of these potential errors with the fact that 1981 was a year that did not produce special mint sets, meaning collectors often overlook the regular circulation strikes, the rarity and uniqueness of certain 1981 D quarters becomes even more compelling. But how exactly do we get from a coin worth 25 cents to one worth $17 million? The answer lies in the extreme scarcity of certain errors and the bidding wars that erupt when wealthy collectors compete to own them, because in the world of high-end numismatics, it's not just about owning gold or silver, it's about owning something that literally no one else in the world can have, and a perfect storm of rarity, condition, and collector demand can lead to astronomical prices. Imagine a 1981 D quarter struck on a gold planchet by mistake, or one that shows dramatic double strikes where the entire design appears twice at different angles. Coins like these are the holy grail of error collectors, and when such a coin surfaces at auction, stories spread, interest builds, and the value soars, and this is where the $17 million figure comes into play, a reflection not of an ordinary coin, but of a once-in-a-lifetime piece that combines an outrageous error with pristine condition, authenticated by experts, and fought over by those who see coins not just as currency, but as art, history, and investment all rolled into one. To fully understand the magic of the 1981 D quarter's potential value, think about the psychology of collecting. For some, the allure is the chase, the thrill of hunting down something that nobody else has, and when such an opportunity arises, price becomes almost irrelevant, which is why coins like these can reach values that sound unbelievable to the average person. It's not just the error itself that creates value, but also the story that surrounds it, the provenance of the coin, the auctions it has passed through, the experts who have examined it, and the buzz it generates in collector circles. All of these factors layer on top of the physical mistake to transform the coin into a legend, and legends are priceless. So when we talk about a 1981 D quarter being worth $17 million, what we're really talking about is the culmination of error rarity, collector psychology, and historical significance all rolled into one. Another important point to consider is condition, because in coin collecting, condition is king. A rare error is valuable on its own, but a rare error in mint state condition, showing no wear, crisp details, and perhaps even earning a top grade from grading services like PCGS or NGC, becomes exponentially more desirable. And if a 1981 D quarter with a dramatic error exists in such condition, it would explain how its value could reach such staggering heights. And it's not just speculation. History has shown us that coins with spectacular errors have sold for millions, so the possibility of a 1981 D quarter fetching $17 million is not out of the question, especially when you consider that the coin market is driven as much by passion and prestige as it is by metal content. In fact, some of the most valuable coins in the world are not made of gold or platinum, but of copper and nickel, like the humble quarter, yet because of their rarity and error, they surpass precious metals in value. The 1981 D quarter's story reminds us that accidents can become treasures, mistakes can become masterpieces, and what one person might overlook in pocket change, another might see as a doorway to history and fortune. So if you're a collector or someone just starting out, it's worth taking the time to carefully inspect coins like the 1981 D quarter, because you never know if the next great discovery is sitting right in your hand, whether it's a doubled die, an off-center strike, a clipped planchet, or some bizarre one-of-a-kind mint blunder, that small detail could be the difference between a coin worth 25 cents and a coin worth $17 million, and that possibility is what makes coin collecting so exciting, because at its heart, it's not just about money, it's about curiosity, history, and the thrill of uncovering hidden gems in the most unexpected places, and that is why the 1981 quarter dollar holds a special place in the numismatic world, not only as a piece of circulating currency from the early 1980s, but as a symbol of how human error, chance, and collector passion can combine to create something of almost unimaginable value. So the next time you get change back from a store or dig through an old jar of coins, remember the story of the 1981 quarter dollar, because one small mistake at the Denver Mint more than 4 decades ago might just be your ticket to a fortune. And if this story inspires you, then stay tuned, because we're always uncovering the fascinating secrets behind the coins you thought you knew, and who knows, maybe the next legendary discovery will come from your very own pocket. So keep collecting, keep searching, and keep dreaming, because in the world of coins, anything is possible, and that's the magic that keeps us coming back. And before we wrap up, make sure to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss another incredible story from the hidden world of coins that are worth millions, because the next big treasure could be closer than you think. Now we dive into the fascinating and often surprising world of rare coins, where everyday pocket change can sometimes hold a value that goes far beyond its face, and in this case we are focusing on the 1971 Washington quarter dollar coin. A piece of metal that to most people looks like an ordinary 25-cent coin but has become the stuff of legends in numismatic circles due to the fact that certain rare examples have been reported to sell for as much as $9 million because of the errors and mistakes that occurred during its minting. And throughout this journey we will uncover why such a simple coin could command such a massive price, the types of errors and varieties that make it special, and the endless possibilities of what collectors search for when examining these pieces, because when it comes to coin collecting, the smallest imperfection can mean the difference between a coin being worth only its face value and one being worth a fortune. To understand why the 1971 quarter has such mystique, we need to place it in historical context. The Denver Mint in 1971 was producing huge numbers of coins to meet the growing demand of commerce in the United States, and efficiency was key. But whenever production happens at such large scales, the chance for mistakes multiplies, and while most flawed coins are caught in the minting process, some slip through undetected and eventually enter circulation, and it is those survivors that collectors dream of finding, because errors give coins unique character and rarity, the two most important ingredients that drive high values. One of the most talked about errors in the 1971 quarter is the double die, where the design elements on the coin appear doubled because of misalignment during the hubbing process of the die, and collectors who come across such pieces often describe dramatic doubling on the motto "In God We Trust," on the word liberty, and even on the date itself. And when such doubling is strong and visible without magnification, it sends shockwaves through the collecting community as demand skyrockets, leading to astronomical auction prices that could reach into the millions. Another important mistake associated with this coin is the off-center strike, which occurs when the blank planchet is not properly seated in the press and the dies strike it off balance, leaving part of the design missing and a crescent of blank metal visible. And the more dramatic the off-center, especially if the date and mint mark remain intact, the higher the value, with some extreme examples commanding extraordinary figures because collectors see them as rare art created by accident. Then there are clipped planchet errors, where the coin blank itself has a curved bite-like section missing due to a mistake in the punching process of the metal strips, and although small clips are not especially rare, when combined with other errors on a 1971 quarter they become much more valuable, adding layers of uniqueness that collectors crave. Beyond those, there are transitional errors, which are among the most valuable of all, because occasionally coins were struck on planchets meant for other denominations or from different years' metal compositions, and while the quarter since 1965 had been struck on copper-nickel-clad planchets, sometimes silver planchets from earlier years or experimental compositions could have been mistakenly used, resulting in a coin that looks like a normal quarter but weighs differently, rings with a different sound, and contains precious metal, and these are the kinds of anomalies that send shockwaves through the collecting world, driving values to dizzying heights. The 1971 quarter also carries the possibility of broadstrike errors, when the retaining collar that normally contains the metal during striking is absent or malfunctioning, allowing the coin to spread out wider than normal, giving it a pancake-like appearance, and collectors pay significant sums for such pieces, especially when they are crisp and uncirculated. Another area of fascination is repunched mint marks, because in 1971 mint marks were still applied by hand onto the dies, and sometimes the letter D was punched more than once in slightly different positions, leaving a noticeable doubling of the D mint mark, and depending on how visible and dramatic this effect is, collectors will fight over them at auctions, boosting their value immensely. Die cracks, cuds, and die breaks are yet another category of collectible mistakes, and when they appear prominently on a 1971 D quarter they create one-of-a-kind patterns, often resembling raised lines or chunks of extra metal on the coin's surface, which are highly sought after because no two are exactly alike, making them miniature works of accidental art struck into the nation's coinage. The condition of the coin also plays an enormous role, as errors in mint state condition with little to no wear can magnify the price many times over, because pristine examples are far rarer, and collectors always chase perfection even when the coin itself is flawed in production, leading to an ironic twist where mistakes preserved in perfect condition become treasures worth millions. The fascination with the 1971 D quarter that has been rumored or even documented to sell for $9 million stems from this cocktail of factors, a combination of extreme rarity, dramatic error, impeccable condition, and collector demand, because in the world of numismatics once a legendary coin surfaces, it develops a mythology around it and drives others to dream of finding the next one, fueling endless searches through jars of change, estate sales, and old collections. Imagine the thrill of pulling a coin from circulation that looks ordinary at first glance but under close inspection reveals doubling on the motto or a misaligned die strike that makes it unique, and realizing that this quarter is not just 25 cents but a multi-million-dollar prize. That kind of discovery has kept collectors hunting for decades and ensures that the 1971 D quarter remains an object of fascination. Stories circulate in collecting circles about examples that slipped through the cracks at the Denver Mint, some struck on the wrong planchet, some with dramatic off-center errors, and others with doubled dies so bold they are visible to the naked eye, and every time one of these comes to light it reignites the excitement and speculation about what other treasures might still be hiding in pocket change across the country. For many, the lure is not only the financial gain but also the thrill of owning a piece of history that tells the story of American minting, of the imperfections in industrial processes, and of the human element in coin production during an era when mint marks were still hand-punched, dies were manually prepared, and quality control systems were not as advanced as they are today. The 1971 D quarter embodies the idea that mistakes can sometimes be more beautiful and more valuable than perfection, because collectors are drawn to the uniqueness that errors provide, and owning such a coin is like holding a fingerprint of history that no one else can replicate. Some numismatists suggest that there may still be undiscovered varieties of the 1971 D quarter sitting quietly in collections or change drawers, waiting to be identified, and that is why hobbyists continue to scrutinize every detail, from the edge reading to the spacing of the letters, searching for anomalies that might prove to be the next million-dollar rarity. The possibility of striking errors such as double strikes, where the coin is hit by the dies more than once in slightly different positions, creates dramatic overlapping images that can be instantly recognizable and incredibly valuable, and in cases where such errors are combined with planchet mistakes or misaligned dies, the uniqueness multiplies exponentially, sometimes resulting in coins that collectors describe as once-in-a-lifetime finds. Even coins with subtle varieties, like slight misalignments in lettering, odd die polish lines, or variations in the shape of numerals, can command premiums, because dedicated collectors seek to catalog every possible variety, and the more obscure and hard to find, the more valuable they become. The culture of coin collecting thrives on such possibilities, and the 1971 D quarter has cemented itself in this culture because of the tantalizing chance that a coin worth $9 million could be hiding in plain sight. The allure is so powerful that entire communities online and in person spend countless hours comparing photos, sharing discoveries, and chasing leads about new errors or varieties, always hoping to be the next person to uncover a fortune in their pocket change. For those who are new to collecting, the story of the 1971 D quarter is a perfect example of how patience, knowledge, and a keen eye can pay off in extraordinary ways, because while most coins may only be worth their face value, the rare ones with extraordinary errors remind us that even the smallest details can change everything. So the next time you come across a 1971 D quarter, look closely, weigh it, check for doubling, inspect the mint mark, observe the strike, and examine the surfaces for cracks or clips, because who knows, you might just be holding a coin that could change your life forever, and that is the beauty of this hobby, where history, art, and chance collide to create treasures of unimaginable value. And as we wrap up this deep dive into the story of the 1971 D-quarter worth up to $9 million, remember that the world of coins is full of surprises, and each piece you examine holds the potential for discovery.